You have to trust your teammates, always. If not, we are lost.
Today I feel bankrupt. Today I feel migrant worker, and today I feel as if I'm going to get my P45. Okay, we're back. Hey everybody, hope you all enjoyed your summer hollybops. It's PBL here on the Cult of Cantona. Before we start, we have an exciting season ahead, as we know, and there's really interesting things happening over the next couple of months. We're really excited about where the YouTube channel and everything can go. So yeah, smash that out like button, and if you like what we're doing, be sure to subscribe, mention to a friend, to your dad, to an uncle, to somebody who you like, and maybe share it with a Liverpool fan just to wind them up. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of months with the World Cup. Lots of takeaways, some interesting talking points about who performed or underperformed at the World Cup. I just want to jump in very quickly at the start and have a chat about Gianni. Today I feel bankrupt. Today I feel migrant worker, and today I feel as if I'm going to get my P45. What a fucking idiot. What an idiot of a man. It just goes to show that he very, very obviously doesn't understand football at a very basic grassroots level. And what the scariest thing about him is that he's a European. He's an Italian, so yeah, I don't understand what was going through his mind on any level. So yeah, it's encouraging to see all of the associations, UEFA, CONCACAF, all these associations and member states, countries, kind of standing up to these bullies, these oligarchs, these idiots who don't really understand football. Football is born of kids going out to play with their pals and kicking the ball around, and it's one of the very few sports you can play on your own, hence the reason why it's so popular. And also the romanticism in and around football, which is, you know, from my point of view, is what's so beautiful about it. Yeah, not a good day to be the head of FIFA. But I digress. Moving on, lots to talk about. We had a friendly against Atlético Madrid the other day, yesterday. I have to say, having watched it, United looked pretty sharp. It's lots of takeaways in terms of what Carrick is trying to do. He's clearly working towards creating the best possible scenario from each player's flexibility in terms of their positions. You can see that he's seeing what he can try and get out of certain players in certain scenarios. I think it's a really clever move in terms of what he's trying to do with Lenny Yoro, trying him out at left back, right back, or full back. Lenny Yoro is an exceptional player, but you can see that his confidence took a bit of a dip last season. Some really positive signs from him. Patrick Dorgu again. Carrick seems to be leaning into him, playing more of a kind of offensive winger, which is exciting to see. A little bit worrying in terms of Bruno's World Cup, or lack of World Cup, as it were. God knows he deserves a break after a stellar season last season, but I don't think it's any mystery as to why he didn't play well in the World Cup. and why Portugal in general underperformed. Huge fan of Ronaldo here, particularly prime Ronaldo at United and early Real Madrid. But yeah, it's no mystery as to why all of these incredible player for player in every position for Portugal coming off the bench didn't seem as if they could fully express themselves, which is, I suppose, the most disappointing thing about Portugal in the World Cup. And Bruno, you feel for him because if he was playing for any other country at any other World Cup, you would imagine him being the talisman, the main man. But it's the same with the likes of Bernardo Silva. It's the same with most of their players. More or less every position would get into most top tier teams around Europe. So it's kind of yeah, worrisome. And I suppose even more so that they're continuing down this road with their new manager. But back to United, some interesting green shoots happening. Shea Lacey had, I think, a very good game. He's a proper little player. I was very concerned that his temperament, the way it let him down, would have maybe cost him his chances at Man United. But you can see that he's really hungry for it. He really wants to be involved. He really wants to make a name for himself at the club. And I think he'll get that opportunity. He's a wonderful little player. And he played a blinder against Atletico. Equally, you know, looking at what Michael Carrick is trying to do with Mason Mount, you can see that he's trying to make a home for him in the team in some capacity, and him playing that bit deeper, I think, offers us something. You know, there was talk of him and one or two other players being, you know, Xerxes and himself. And despite Xerxes' wonderful flourish in the last game and that lovely goal that he scored, unfortunately, a swallow doesn't make a summer. I don't really see a place for Joshua Xerxes in the starting 11 next season. I think he'd be doing a disservice to himself because he could play. He's a great player. I just find him to be troublesome and a little bit off the pace when he comes on. He's a huge player, and these comparisons or references to Ronaldinho, I think, are untrue because Ronaldinho, despite all of his shortcomings, had like really terrific pace. He could beat 2, 3, 4 players, and Joshua Xerxes, unfortunately, doesn't have that pace. He's just a heavier set, bigger guy. Joshua Xerxes is, you know, 6'4". He's a big guy. He's a big chunk of a bloke, and I think it's concerning for United to continue down that road with him. But let's look at, you know, some of the transfers that we've got in so far. I do think that despite what we've seen with Santos, I think he holds up the ball well. I think he distributes the ball well. I think the early signs are that he could be a player for Man United, and that's great. But you would be, you know, particularly with how Casemiro played last season, you'd wonder if he has enough to fill those kind of shoes. I don't know. It was also exciting to see a little bit of JJ Gabriel. You know, he's clearly a tremendously talented footballer, 15 years of age. And I think it's exciting, potentially, the idea of him and Kai Rooney coming through the ranks. He's a fantastic player, but I think United, and rightly so, are, you know, progressing very, very, very tentatively about JJ Gabriel, and so they should, with, you know, the history of Garnacho. He wishes Garnacho coming through the ranks and how he's over underestimated his ability. One thing that always put me off watching Garnacho was watching him celebrate like Ronaldo. And I think that he's become another Januzaj. He's become another Oberton, Oberton. Um, and you'd worry about him. You'd worry about his mental health, and you'd worry not about anything really, because his attitude has been absolutely appalling, and no one likes a bad attitude. So yeah, looking at Andre Santos, you'd have to say, he's a young enough lad, 22 years of age. There's lots of potential there for him to, ply his trade at United. There was a lot of kind of silly commentary and conjecture about what type of player he would be, because Chelsea didn't want him. But let's be honest, Chelsea were buying up everybody on 10, 9, 15-year contracts and exploiting exploiting the system over the last couple of years, and they've been punished accordingly, and that's why they're off buying, with the greatest of respect to Danny Welbeck, fine player, but a 35-year-old player, and Jordan Breakerson. So, I think United might have got a player there. Obviously, they're completing their business in the same way that they conducted business last summer, and trying to identify prime potential targets kind of going forward, and splitting the difference between youth and experience. Yuri Tillemans obviously is an incredible player that I've watched for years now, playing in the Premier League for Leicester, and obviously more recently Villa. Fantastic player. As Bruno progresses in his career, he's going to play a little bit less, I think, and I think that this is a like-for-like transfer. Maybe Michael Carrick knows something about Yuri Tillemans and the Bruno Fernandes situation that we don't know about. So I think he's 29. I think he has an eye for goal. I think he's a great team player. I think he's a great attitude. Tillemans seems to be a tidy bit of business, you'd have to say. So well done to Michael Carrick for that. Looking at yeah, so looking at the goalkeeping situation, Darlow coming in, an experienced pair of hands, no pun intended. So you'd have to say that his record is pretty good prior to Man United. He's 35 now, so he's clearly just you can't see anywhere back for Brian Deere now. I think Brian Deere will be departing us. Great to see Tom Heaton playing well as he was the other day. And yeah, the grass. So yeah, and have we signed another Aiden Heaven? Not not positionally, but in terms of talent, from Spurs. If he goes on to become, an amazing player for Man United, you'd have to say that at 4 million, he's a quality acquisition for United. And we need, God knows, we need wingers. Interesting times ahead. So it looks like Michael Carrick is leaning very much into the youth philosophy again, which personally I'm delighted to see. I mean, bringing through the likes of JJ Gabriel, and tactically wanting to give youth a chance again. I'd like to see more of the Fletchers. I'd like to see more of. I'd like to see Kai Rooney get a run out at some point this season as well, maybe in the League Cup. I, Personally, I think United will at some point this season sign, this transfer window, sign a marquee signing. Who that's going to be, I don't know, but I'd like to see. I'd like to see another striker come in. I'd like to see, let, somebody like Lewandowski coming in and just being there from a mentor's perspective with someone like Benjamin Šeško, who seems to have had an incredible glow up and beefed himself up. um, so somebody to work with him and not play every game and come on, off the bench and grab a late winner and just become a, Larson, Henrik Larsson type signing, or somebody like a Cavani type, just to kind of, it would just make sense because I'm pretty sure, pending injuries, pick him up for next to nothing. So I think we need somebody like that. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. Maybe Harry Kane is interested in coming back to the Premier League. Maybe he's interested in trying to win the Premier League before he retires. I'd love to see Kane there, kind of holding back the line and playing a bit deeper, encouraging the wingers and your Mbuemos and your Cunhas and your Amads to come forward more, kind of seek and recover type forward. The issue there is if Harry Kane comes, is you'd have issues there with who's going to take the penalties, the free kicks, etc. with Bruno Fernandes. But I think there's a couple of twists and turns left in this transfer window. Tchouaméni, what's happening at Real Madrid? Does he want to come to Man United? Would you have him at Man United? Let us know in the comments and get involved in the conversation. I don't really know if his game is that suited to United. I think at Madrid he was, surrounded by incredible midfielders, and I would wonder how he'd cope in the Premier League. Again, that's the thing with Spain. You have an extra second and a half on the ball, and then coming to the Premier League, I think what we've noticed is a lot of players that are coming to the Premier League need some degree of transition, a couple of weeks, and in some cases months before they hit the ground running. You look at Anthony never really transitioned. And when he went to Spain, equally in South America, to the Premier League, you're just not left alone for a second. It's great to see Brian Mbuemo scoring again. I think he's a quality player. I think he, dipped in confidence towards the end of the Premier League season, but that's okay. He's human like the rest of us. But Brian will be, I think, a cult hero for United, as is Cunha. I do think that we need a striker. I think we need an out-and-out striker, someone who is just going to bulldoze, someone who's just going to take the ball and launch it in the back of the net, a la Van Nistelrooy, and someone who doesn't take any prisoners. I'd love a Harry Kane for that. I'd love a Lewandowski. But let's look at some of the outs that might be heading off in this transfer window. Joshua Zirkzee, I think, is going to move on. I think we're going to have one or two little surprises as well of who else is going to leave the club. I have a sneaking suspicion that there is more in the Bruno Fernandes saga. He certainly won't go to Real Madrid because they bought Bernardo Silva, so can't see that happening. But I think Bruno might, if we sign a midfielder, which seems to be more and more likely, on top of the fact that Tielemans is there, on top of the fact that Santos is there, JJ Gabriel coming into the team, and the fact that Carrick seems to be preparing players to play in multiple positions now. Mason Mount, obviously fighting like crazy to retain his position in the team and at the club. So I think there's going to be a few twists and turns. I think, Luke Shaw, in what I've seen of him over the last couple of games, I think that he's going to play less and less this season. I think Michael Carrick's going to want to have youth playing in those left and right back positions. Who knows, he might hang on and collect a wage for the next year, but personally, I'd like to see Luke moving on, not because I don't like him, but just purely because of his age, and we need to start building a youthful team which complements each other in those positions. But I suppose the biggest elephant in the room would be the Marcus Rashford situation. Should he stay? Should he come back and stay? Should he come back and go? He is coming back, but in what capacity, we just don't know yet. Personally, I'd like to see him go. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Carrick got a tune out of him. But the reality is, me watching Marcus, Michael Schmoling, Mike Schmoling, Marcus Rashford, is that even watching him in the World Cup, he was in on goal 3 to 4 times and just didn't put his chances away. We seen it towards the end when he was playing for United. He'd do all the heavy lifting and great work, and then he'd get in a position to score. And then he'd just have the weakest kind of side foot into the keeper's arms or blast it wide. And it's just progressively getting worse and worse and worse. I don't think you can disrespect United the way he has done over the last couple of years. I don't think thanking every other club he's played for, including his underage teams before United, and not mentioning Man United, is doing him any favours. Michael Carrick might see something in him and might want to support him in that way. Personally, I wouldn't put that time in. I think it could mean the difference between, Champions League spots and winning the league next season. But there's loads to look forward to. It's very, very exciting. We're back in the FA Cup, we're back in the Carabao Cup, the Champions League. It's, a really exciting time to be a United fan again. And those Tuesday and Wednesday nights now are going to be exciting again for a variety of reasons. Just hearing that music back in Old Trafford is going to be absolutely fantastic. But just looking ahead to the Dublin Manchester United versus Leeds match in Croke Park. It's always good to see Man United coming to Ireland. I've seen them a number of times over the years, as far back as like 1994, when United played Shells, being a Shells fan as well, which I am. I can't imagine that we will have, based on the Bilbao match a couple of years ago, I think that United will not start necessarily with the strongest team in the world. I think that it'll be a first half team of, you'll have 3 or 4 first teamers and a lot of academy graduates, and then, taking all our big names off in the second half. There's also a fixture a couple of days before that, so I can't see, them fielding a fantastic team to play. It's still a friendly, and then, and to all the fans out there that snapped up tickets for that match and you're selling them 2 and 3 times above the asking price, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's still a friendly. Most people with a degree of effort can get tickets for Old Trafford, for £60 up to £100. Why you think you can charge €200 for a ticket to see, half of the United first team play 20 minutes in Croke Park is shocking. You should hang your head in shame. It's not what it's supposed to be about. It's certainly not what it's supposed to be about. So what are your thoughts, boys and girls? Get involved. If you'd like to support the show, there's a couple of ways you can do that. Like, subscribe, share. You can become a member on buymeacoffee.com/Cult of Cantona. Get us a coffee. If we see it out and about, myself or one of the lads will reciprocate. Thank you for supporting the show, watching, listening, subscribing. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. We really enjoy it, and we're really looking forward to bringing you regular content over the next couple of months. We also have, and don't tell anybody, a new host joining the team. We have, there's a bit of transfer speculation about it, but we have an incredible new host joining us over the next couple of weeks before the new season begins. So like, subscribe, share, and #believe.